Hi, in a previous video we've taken a look at my studio LED lights here, which I've got a remote control for, and I can actually switch these on. You'll notice this one up here, it's flickering. Look at that. So we've got a problem, and I've had another one fail as well. There we go. I've got them all on now, but one has completely failed, that one there, and that one is just flickering. So, oops, the other one there, that's actually a air conditioning vent, and there's no lights there, because what these lights do is they basically wrap around my bench here where I stand and actually do most of my teardowns and, you know, any sort of bench filming I do there. So it's kind of like, you know, comes from behind and the sides, like down at an angle like that. So I found that's, you know, a fairly optimal angle, apart from, you know, setting up proper softbox studio lights and all that sort of stuff, which are a pain in the butt when you're just, you know, filming stuff kind of like just randomly where you don't have a particular setup. And they do a decent job for my mailbag stuff on that bench as well. Anyway, we got two that have failed, so let's take a look at them. And if you haven't seen inside the drop seal-in before, there we go. There's just some of my controllers. One of those ones has failed because it's this panel here that's gone. It's almost certainly not the panel. And there's the air conditioner system, and there's all the other, you know, just loosey-goosey wiring. Didn't make any attempt to do that, and they're just plugged into power points. You can see just hanging there from the roof. So it's a bit of a mess, but anyway, let's get these controllers out, because almost certainly it's a controller that's failed here. And here's the driver from the Flicker one, and I've written Flick on there so I know which ones are which. And these are a Lifud brand one, and they aren't exactly one hung low. They're one of the better, I don't know, I wouldn't probably call them the best on the market, but they're certainly a reputable brand LED driver. And I do remember actually, I believe, paying more for these at the time over like the cheapies. I went, yeah, I want the good quality drivers. So I paid a bit extra. And, oh, hello? Hello? Well, there's your problem. Oh, here I was thinking I'd get like a repair video of a bloody capacitor or something. That's the active. Wah, 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 wah. Well, that's bloody hilarious and embarrassing at the same time, isn't it? I expected, you know, electronic failure in this thing, and based on the flickering, but it looks like it might just, it's a bloody contact. That's ridiculous. That's my fault, effectively. I think I'm the one who, oh no, David wired a few in. Yeah, I'll blame him. Yeah, blame the employee. Why not? So I find that interesting how that could flicker like that. Tighten that puppy up. That's pretty good now. I like that. This has got like sort of an integral clamp, grommet clamp thingamabob on it. Just plugged it into my test panel here. Seems to be working just fine. Well, that still looks pretty good, doesn't it? And the Aishi, if you pronounce them like that, brand caps, they still look fine. There's no bulges in there. Yes, they are Chinese caps, but they're probably one of the better, one of the best Chinese caps you can get. 125 degrees C rated. They look pretty beefy. So nothing, other electrolytic over there. Doesn't look like there's any issues in here at all. I think we just had a dicky connection doing the flickering. So maybe there was some like little arc over kind of, you know, stuff happening which it causes it to flicker on, and then it breaks the contact again, and then it just causes that sort of, you know, power up flickering kind of effect. Actually, it'd be interesting to see if I can force it to do that. So I've undone the active screw there. I'm going to power it up. It's hooked up to this panel, and let's see what happens here. Here we go. If I dick around with that, oh geez. Whoa, yeah, arcing. Don't know if you can see that. Oh yeah. Whoa, sparking. Hang on. Oh yeah, sparky spark. But I will say these are the poor quality sort of like spring leaf ones, which I don't like. They're not the proper cage clamp ones that come down. The cage clamp ones are infinitely better. These are like, you know, some sort of leaf spring one, and they don't make nearly as good a contact as the proper cage clamp ones. So that's probably part of the reason here. And the other good thing about these is, look, they're not densely packed together. Quite well spaced out for the power. What is this, like a 70-watt driver or something like that? You know, you could have made this more densely packed, but the thermal performance inside a smaller, you know, enclosed case like that, or mostly enclosed case, would cause a problem. But this one's quite large and well spaced out. I really like the design of this. It's nice. All right, so here's the other one. Let's take a look. And these things don't get hugely hot up there, by the way, and it's not hot in that ceiling because we're in the middle of a big corporate office tower here. Temperature's fairly well regulated. I think the hottest it gets up there is like, you know, 26 degrees Celsius or something like that. No, that's pretty solid. So maybe this one, maybe we'll get lucky. Do you feel lucky, punk? I just noticed 40-degree temperature ambient, and TC is probably temperature of the controller itself, 90. So it probably gets to 90 at a 40-degree ambient. But as I said, yeah, it probably doesn't get above 25, 26 degrees up there in the roof, even in the peak of summer here in Australia. Well, that all looks in pretty good nick. No bulges in the caps there, anything silly like that. Looks hunky-dory. The other caps look good. Nothing particularly blowing. Let me try and hook it up to the paddle here, and it'll probably just work, won't it? Bloody Murphy. No, it doesn't work. We have a bona fide failure. Beauty. All right, so let's have a look at this under the Tagano microscope. And yes, there is a fuse down here. Yes, I have measured it. It's okay. So we're going to look for, you know, visual signs, but I've had a look at the components on top. I don't see any, you know, there's no bulging caps, there's no leaking cap fluid. No, that's just elastic there holding down the cap. You know, there's no like blow holes in any of the trannies down in there. So nothing visually looks like it's a problem. So let's look at the bottom. Now the thing with these things is that these LED controllers is that they do actually heat up. They do get warm, not hot. So they do get warm, and like they heat up and they cool down when you turn them on and off. So there's, you know, potentially some thermal expansion there. So maybe, you know, it could have a dodgy joint on it. I don't know. Let's have a look. Start going around. Let's go to the primary side. That's our spark gap. I've done a video on spark gaps before. Might have to link it in if you haven't seen it. It's very interesting. Everything looks good. No, it's all good. The solder joints are a little bit how you doing? Just a dodge. No, they're a wave reflowed because they got, sorry, not wave reflowed. Duh. They're wave soldered because you can see the glue underneath. That's what that color down in there is. It's actually holding, that's the glue holding down the parts. You can see that. So they're obviously wave soldered that. Common as mud. So all of our components look okay. There's one missing. There's a diode missing. See, you can see the glue down there. Oh, they decided not to populate it, but it was already set up in their glue mask profile and stuff like that. So all the parts look good. You know, like the wave soldering's not the best, but it's all fine. It just doesn't look terrific. Okay, now I'm going to have a look at some of the joints. See if there's an issue there. They look okay. The output joints, they're all right. Give them a bit of a wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Hello. Oh, wow, look at that. We got one. We got one. Wow, look at that. It's cracked. It's a cracked. Wow. It's a cracked solder joint. That's a Bobby Dazzler. That is absolutely classic. Wow. Well, there's your problem. That's your output choke here. There you go. let's touch that up, shall we? Let's turn the iron on. So what you need to do with these joints, you can either wick that away with some solder wick, or like what you don't want to do is just heat it up like that. Wow, look, there's not much on there, is there? Wow, that's remarkable. Anyway, you want to apply some new solder because it's got new flux. I'm using this lead-free rubbish. I know that looks a bit rough as guts there, but should be right. Anyway, because we've had one problem on that, I would go around and touch, even though these look first class, I would go around and touch them up anyway, as a matter of course. Yeah, we can clean that up, of course. But now, even though that's got a bit of excess solder on it, nothing wrong with that. She'll be right. It's just through-hole stuff. You wouldn't even bother to clean that up, but I will. All right, let's plug that sucker back in. Ta-da! No wuckers. Works like I bought one. So there you go. That was an easy repair in the end. A classic, absolute classic cracked solder joint, probably due to a combination of probably original, like not enough solder on there originally or something. Maybe some, a lot of thermal cycling of these things, because, these things get turned on and off all the time. And the flicker one that I thought might have been, some weird ass electrical fault, turned out to be nothing of the sort. It was just a dicky mains input contact. I presume that's the fault, because it wasn't working before when I was plugging it into the test panel here, and now it is just fine. And we had a known cracked joint in exactly the place where it would cause that problem, like right on the output choke there. It's open circuit in the lead. Classic. So there you go. Not terribly interesting, but beware of cracked solder joints like that, and thermal cycling and stuff like that. It's one of the, as I said, the steps of looking at something like this. You go for visual failures, leaking caps and other parts blowing and things like that. Probably give it the smell test as well, and check measure obvious things like the fuses and stuff like that, and then just give the back a good visual like that, including all the solder joints on something like this that gets hot, because you can come a gutser. Catch you next time. Wait, hold on to your hat. We're following a red herring down a rabbit hole. This is the flicker unit, and after I finished the video, I was quite chuffed with myself, and I went to put these back up there, and it still flickered. So it obviously wasn't that mains input over here that caused it. So let's get the board out, have another visual on this one. All right, so I've looked at the top side, and everything looks hunky-dory. So I'm going to concentrate on these solder joints again, because if we had problems last time, then I think we can get problems this time. Normally I wouldn't use the Tegano for this. I'd use the Mantis, just because the Mantis is clearer, and it's just, you don't have to wait for the damn digital focus thing to work and all that sort of stuff. That's all looking okay. Yes, holding your tongue at the right angle helps. I don't suspect any of the surface mount stuff. I think the through hole's going to be the culprit. No, it's all right. Let's go over to the same place we had last time. That looks all right. Yeah, our inductor's hunky-dory. Let me go have a look under the Mantis. It's just better than the Tegano for doing visual inspection like this. And yep, I found one. I swear that looks cracked on the Mantis. Doesn't look nearly as bad here. Oh man, it's dodgy as, I swear it is. That looks cracked. I'll try and get a photo under the Mantis. Finally got it. It's really difficult to get. The depth of field at this angle that you need is crazy. But look at that. That is a real difficult to see unless you have a really good Mantis like this, really good microscope to view it right on an angle like that. It's really very difficult. But as I said, through the viewfinder of the Mantis, it shows up like really well. You just hold an angle, boom, there it is. It's, it's just not easy to shoot this. But look at that. That looks dodgy as. You're looking at just a flat digital image. You're not seeing a real live image like you are on the Mantis, even though, it's 60 frames per second by live. I mean, like a 3D stereoscopic kind of thing. But anyway, that is one of the pins on the primary side driver tranny there. That'd do it, wouldn't it? All right, so we'll just touch that up. No wuckers. Yeah, that didn't look good. That didn't look very promising at all. Might be worth actually sucking this solder off, actually putting some fresh stuff on. Just as a matter of course, I'll add some more stuff to the other ones. Yeah, I'll go in there and clean up all that. Looks a bit how you're doing. But trust me, like, it looks worse than it is under the microscope. But yep, let's give that a whirl. Okay, I don't see any flicker anymore on the test panel. And no, it's not the panel, by the way. I don't know, fixed, I guess. Nope, watch this. We got some more dodgy joints in there. Must have. Wow. I could get it to go off like almost completely there. Yep, there we go. There we go. Yeah, it's flickering. It wasn't that joint. Wasn't that one. It's another joint. Back to the Mantis. Okay, I found another like 3 or 4 that maybe were a bit suspect. So I retouched those. And we're all good. I think we're good now. I'll definitely give it some more bash around tests, but I think we had like a micro crack on one of these joints, which was causing the problem. And that's all it takes, is a micro crack in one of those solder joints, which are very difficult, very subtle to pick up, even on the Mantis, which is probably one of the best things you can get for this sort of thing, even with the ×8 lens and stuff like that. So, like, I thought I had it, and then no, it was something else. So that is remarkable. So these Lifud, whatever you bloody call them, they've got like solder joint issues. Is that because of the this newfangled lead-free rubbish or something? I don't know, but they look to be susceptible to these micro cracks, because that's 2 units. So like out of like 10. So that's like, 20% of my units. That's actually a lot. So that is remarkable. Do they have some sort of systemic problem there, like the type of solder alloy that they actually use? Because you can get many, like lead-free solder is not just lead-free. There's many different types of lead-free solder. In this particular case, they've been getting I've found more than, like, I've found at least, 3 confirmed micro cracks on these things. So, yeah, don't like it at all. So that turned out to be more interesting than I thought. I thought I had it licked, and then, no, it was bloody some micro cracks. Sorry I couldn't actually show you the culprit in the end. I just had to go, that looks a bit how you're doing. Oh, I'll resolder that, and sure enough, it looks like it's now fixed. Anyway, again, hope you liked it. Catch you next time.